Hello everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to our AutoCAD tutorial. On this video, we will be tackling layers, essentially how you can specify a new layer, turn it on and off, freeze or thaw, lock and unlock, and how you can essentially make sure that your work is visible once you print your work. So from your home layer or from the home page, from your ribbon, you're able to access your layers on here. And if you open a brand new drawing, a brand new drawing which says drawing 1 up there, essentially it has no specified layers. The only layer it has is the layer 0. So the very first thing you want to do once you get to a new drawing is to specify your layer and your layer properties, and this is just to make sure that you're able to distinguish between the different stuff you're doing in your drawing, and to make sure that once you start printing your work is visible and your work is able to show on the drawing in a way that you want. We normally use layers to distinguish between different objects on our drawing so that when we're communicating with other members of a project, it's easy for them to pick up on what you're saying without actually speaking to you. Remember, the end result is for you to create drawings either in a drafting office or in a design office, and more often than not, your drawing does the talking for you. So once you've completed a drawing, it should be in such a way that someone is able to understand it from start to finish without having spoken to you. Okay, so for layers, we're gonna go here. You can type either the drop down menu or type or click rather on layer properties. I'm just gonna try and extend this so we can see what we are working with and what we are doing. All right, so this is what the interface will look like once you click on layer properties. I'm just trying to expand on those so you can see what's going on. So right off the bat, what you'll get is layer 0. It's on, it's not frozen, it's not locked, and you're able to plot it. It's under the color white. It has a continuous line type, it has a default line weight, and it has a transparency of 0. There's something else we left. And the VP freeze option is not toggled on, so it was not set to be frozen on the on the viewports. The viewports are found on your layout, and that is once you decide to print out your work. So the very first thing you want to do right off the bat is to make sure that you specify your layers. Okay, so the next thing we'll be doing will be our floor plans, so you can create layers from here. You can create as many layers as you want. It doesn't really take that much time. You can create doors, windows, oops, walls, whatever I left out. Garage, should you ever need one. Your veranda, your walkway maybe. What else? Well, you don't really specify the different rooms. Yeah, that's what comes to mind. That's essentially what comes to mind. I'll give you 2 seconds to specify your layers, and then we can proceed. Just 2 seconds. If you happen to have your AutoCAD open, then you can specify your layers before we proceed. Alright, that is more than 2 minutes. We will go on. So this we'll just call it a layer. And essentially with this, you would have had an opportunity to play around with naming new layers and how to add new layers. So we're done with this part that has a yellowish star going on. Next, we're going to the next column that says on. So on here, you're able to essentially toggle layers on or off. Okay. So I'm just quickly going to touch on the freeze layer as well. The on, off, or the freeze columns, they work exactly the same way, but I found that when I'm using the on or off, it slows down my laptop or my AutoCAD quite a bit compared to when I'm using the freeze command or when I'm using this freeze column. They work exactly the same way because it's essentially a layer I don't want to see anymore, whether permanently or temporarily, but for the purposes of the time that I'm working on it, freeze works just fine. So you can toggle it on here, you switch on the light bulb, then it's off, or you can switch it on. Or on here, you can switch the snow from snowflake to sunlight. So snowflake will freeze it, sunlight will thaw it. Essentially, when you're freezing it, you're saying that I do not want to see it. I want to keep working, but I don't necessarily want to deal with this one. Or if you were doing, or if you're completing your floor plans and you were working on a centerline layer and you're done with your offsets and you want to remove anything that is not on the final product, then essentially you can just freeze that layer. So this layer, we can actually call it centerlines. Oops, centerlines. There we go. Then on here, you can lock or unlock. And essentially, this is to prevent someone else from making changes to that drawing. Let's say you are working in a design office and you guys exchange DWG files, which is your AutoCAD drawings. You do not want, as a civil engineer, an architect to make changes to where you put your structural members because those are essentially the backbones of your structure. And you don't want someone to replace your column with a pot plant because it looks cute. So you want to lock certain stuff that you do not need to be moved around because they are there for a reason. Then on here, you can decide whether you want a specific layer to be plotted or not. In the previous versions of AutoCAD, we had layer 0 and we had def points, I think. And I think def points was set not to print. Not too sure about the layer 0, but what I know is a layer that's already there is a layer you want to avoid. Okay, so even though it's set to plot and print, it might plot and print, but I'm just recommending that you set your own layers. Previously, there was a def point, and once you get to your layout, then you wouldn't be able to see it, or once you print your work, then everything would be invisible, which is not what you want. So on here, if there's any layer that you do not wish to print or plot, then obviously you would turn it off. But if you want it printed, then leave it on there, or make sure there is no red cross or a stop sign anywhere near that thing because that would spell trouble. Then next up, we can specify our colors. So you can say that for your doors. You can say you want a magenta garage. You can say your center lines are red. You can say your veranda. I don't know why there's a veranda layer. You can say your walkway is that. Your walls are cyan and your windows are yellow. Perfect. Okay, you can specify as many colors as you want. You are not limited. Then once you get to your line types, I'll specify it here when we get to the center lines. If you ever need to use a different type of line that's not solid, you would say load, and then you would look for the type of line that you're looking for. So with our center line, we normally use center or center 0.5x or center 0.2x. Any of these lines should work just fine, but center is the most common one used. You click on it, you say OK. But remember, just because you loaded it does not mean you have selected it. Now you have to select it and say OK. Then we know that our center line has a specific type of line that you have on there. Right? Let's say you had specified a layer for fence and then you want a specific type of line for your fence. Then you would come here and add fencing. If you wanted red, that's fine. Then you load. Then would come and look for your fence here. Depending on the type of fence line you're trying to use. fence line, remember to select it, then you would have it on there. Line weight, we normally just leave it as default, but you can compare this to the clutch pencil you used to use in drawing 1. For those that did technical drawing 1, it was a 0.5 or a 0.7. I know it looks really thick on this paper. That's why I'm really recommending that you just leave. Sorry, there's an alarm. I really recommend that you leave this one as default or a 0.15 if you really must be fancy. Then you can just play around with that. Okay? If you have any questions at any point, you are more than welcome to get hold of me, leave a comment down below, or any other way in which you can get hold of me. So the reason you've now specified these layers is that you want to draw certain items using these layers. Currently as is, the one with the tick is the layer that you're currently working on. If you want to make any other layer current, then you obviously double click on that layer and it makes it current. Or double click on the next one and it means whatever command that you are going to carry out under that will have this new layer applied to it. Alright? So if it happens that you have completed your drawing, let's say for argument's sake this is your house plan and you've completed everything, I know it's far from it, and you've completed everything, and then now you essentially want to put everything under a specific layer. A tip that I normally do, not that, close. A tip that I normally do, I normally draw like lines from each layer. It takes like 2 seconds. It looks like it's taking up time, but it takes like 2 seconds. Oops. Line. Okay. Then let's assume you've drawn lines from all the layers, right? And then you've drawn your entire house plan, but you realize everything is under layer 0, which is not the layer you're trying to work with. You can use a command called match prop. You can find it here on the properties, or you can type it on your command line. So you can just type match, then it'll prompt you, say match prop. Select your source object. So let's say we're trying to use the garage layer. I'm assuming that's the one. Select destination objects, then you select the object you're trying to match to that specific property. See? Easy peasy. If you decide, no, I actually made a mistake, I had to match it to the veranda layer, then you can easily do that. I found that this is a bit quicker than selecting a layer, making it current, and then drawing. It's easy to get carried away and then you kind of break your momentum while you're switching between layers. But that's my method. That's what works for me. I'm not saying it'll work for you. So try both methods out and see what works for you. Again, if you have any problems, any issues, any concerns, the comment section is completely open. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.